Lauren Bacall reveals the disgusting truth about Humphrey Bogart. Marriage. Lauren Bacall was born Betty Joan Persky on September 16, 1924 in New York City, became one of the most iconic and distinctive actresses of Hollywood's golden age. With her striking looks, husky voice, and trademark sultry gaze, she carved out a career that not only made her a star, but also secured her place among the great screen legends of the 20th century. Her path to stardom began in an unassuming way. Raised by her mother after her parents' separation, Bacall grew up with determination and resilience, qualities that would serve her well in the fiercely competitive world of entertainment. She studied acting at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, while also working as a theater usher and model to support herself. It was her modeling work that brought her to the attention of Harper's Bazaar, where her striking photograph caught the eye of director Howard Hawks' wife. This fateful moment changed her life forever. At just 19 years old, Bacall was cast opposite Humphrey Bogart in the 1944 film To Have and Have Not. The role not only launched her career but also introduced audiences to her now famous look, a combination of lowered chin and upward glance, partly born out of nervousness but ultimately turned into a signature that defined her screen persona. More than a debut, the film began a legendary Hollywood love story. Bacall and Bogart fell deeply in love during filming, despite their age difference and Bogart's status as a married man at the time. Their romance captivated the public, and after Bogart's divorce, the couple married in 1945. Together they became one of Hollywood's most beloved and enduring couples, starring in several films including The Big Sleep, 1946, Dark Passage, 1947, and Key Largo, 1948. Their on-screen chemistry was electric, but it was their off-screen devotion that made them legendary. Bacall often described their marriage as the happiest period of her life. After Bogart's untimely death in 1957 from cancer, Bacall was devastated. She faced the immense challenge of rebuilding her life and career as a widow and single mother of two. For a time, she leaned on close friends such as Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy, and she also had a brief engagement to Frank Sinatra, though that relationship ultimately ended. Despite personal struggles, Bacall continued working steadily in Hollywood, refusing to be typecast and determined to build an identity beyond being Bogart's wife. She worked with directors and stars of equal stature, proving her talent could stand independently. Bacall's career extended far beyond her partnership with Bogart. After his death, she proved herself capable of building a lasting career on her own merits. She transitioned into roles that showcased her versatility, taking on strong, independent characters who reflected her own personality. In the 1950s and 1960s, she appeared in films such as Young Man with a Horn, 1950, Written on the Wind, 1956, and Designing Woman, 1957. Later, she enjoyed success on the stage, earning critical acclaim for her performances in Broadway productions like Cactus Flower and Applause, the latter winning her a Tony Award in 1970. Bacall demonstrated that she was not just a glamorous movie star, but a serious actress capable of excelling in multiple mediums. Her career stretched far beyond her early noir films. Bacall transitioned gracefully into a variety of roles, including in comedies like How to Marry a Millionaire, 1953, alongside Marilyn Monroe and Betty Grable, which showcased her wit and comedic timing. Later in life, she found renewed success on the Broadway stage, winning Tony Awards for Applause, 1970, and Woman of the Year, 1981. In film, she continued to take on challenging roles, earning critical acclaim for performances in movies such as Murder on the Orient Express, 1974, and The Mirror Has Two Faces, 1996, the latter earning her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Lauren Bacall was more than an actress. She was a symbol of independence, sophistication, and resilience. Her deep, smoky voice, often imitated but never replicated, gave her an aura of authority and allure. Off-screen, she was outspoken, politically engaged, and unafraid to stand by her beliefs. She valued integrity in both her work and personal life, qualities that endeared her to audiences and colleagues alike. She also published 2 autobiographies, By Myself, 1978, which won the National Book Award, and Now, 1994, giving readers candid insight into her remarkable life. Lauren Bacall's personal life was deeply intertwined with some of Hollywood's most admired figures, and her marriages reflected both great romance and difficult challenges. Her first and most famous marriage was to legendary actor Humphrey Bogart, whom she wed in 1945 when she was only 20 years old and he was 45. The two had met on the set of To Have and Have Not, 1944. The film that launched Bacall's career and ignited one of the most iconic love stories in Hollywood history. Their on-screen chemistry quickly spilled over into real life, and despite their significant age difference, the relationship blossomed into a marriage that would become a benchmark for passion and loyalty in an industry often defined by fleeting romances. Bacall's union with Bogart transformed her not only into one half of the Bogey and Bacall legend, but also into a central figure in Hollywood's golden era. They had 2 children together, Stephen and Leslie, and for 12 years, their marriage was a symbol of stability, sophistication, and artistic partnership. Tragically, their time together was cut short when Bogart died of esophageal cancer in 1957, leaving Bacall a widow at just 32 years old. The loss devastated her, and though she carried on with remarkable strength, she would later reflect that Bogart was the true love of her life. Several years later, Bacall found herself drawn into another significant marriage, this time with actor Jason Robards, a brilliant performer who would go on to win both an Academy Award and multiple Tony Awards for his work on stage and screen. They married in 1961, and Bacall entered the union with hope for renewed happiness and stability. The marriage produced a son, actor Sam Robards, further extending Bacall's connection to the acting world through family. However, the relationship was troubled from the start due to Robards' struggles with alcoholism, which placed immense strain on their home life. Despite Bacall's efforts to support him, the difficulties proved too great to overcome, and by 1969, the marriage ended in divorce. Bacall, who had already endured the heartbreaking loss of Bogart, was once again left to navigate life independently. Yet, through both her marriages, Bacall gained not only children and deep personal experiences, but also an enduring reputation as a woman of resilience, grace, and unyielding honesty about the complexities of love. Her marriages to Humphrey Bogart and Jason Robards were profoundly different, one a legendary romance tragically ended by death, the other a troubled union concluded by divorce. But together, they reveal the depth of Bacall's humanity and her ability to endure both joy and heartbreak with remarkable dignity. Lauren Bacall, one of Hollywood's most iconic actresses, was always remembered for her smoky voice, striking beauty, and the whirlwind romance she shared with legendary actor Humphrey Bogart. To the outside world, their marriage appeared glamorous, a fairy tale pairing of old Hollywood elegance and passion. But behind closed doors, Bacall herself admitted that the reality was often very different from the idealized image that the public believed. In later interviews, Bacall did not shy away from addressing the flaws and unpleasant realities of her marriage, peeling back the glittery facade of stardom and revealing what she called the disgusting truth about living with a man like Bogart. Humphrey was never an easy man, Bacall admitted in one of her most revealing moments of candor. People like to think of him as this charming, tough guy with a golden heart, but the truth is, he could be cruel, dismissive, and selfish. Living with him was not what people imagined. It was often lonely and at times humiliating. Her words startled fans who had long cherished the romantic legacy of Bogey and Bacall, but Bacall was determined to make it clear that the truth was far more complicated. She explained that Bogart's habits often made life unbearable. He drank constantly. There were nights when he'd stay up until dawn with his Hollywood friends, laughing and carrying on while I was left alone. And when he drank, he could become someone else entirely, short-tempered, argumentative, even nasty. It was disgusting to watch this man, who was so admired by the world, reduced to a sloppy, bitter drunk at home. Bacall emphasized that the public rarely saw this side of him, since Bogart's image was carefully controlled by the studio system, but she had to live with it daily. Another element that weighed heavily on their marriage was Bogart's notorious pride and arrogance. He liked to control everything, Bacall confessed. If I wanted to make my own decisions, even about something small, he would become irritated. He believed that because he was older, more established, and more powerful in the industry, his word should always be final. I hated that. It made me feel like I was trapped in a marriage where my opinions didn't matter. Bacall had been very young when they married, just 20 years old, while Bogart was already in his mid-40s, and the vast difference in life experience created constant tension. Bacall also recalled how she sometimes felt objectified, treated more like a possession than a partner. Humphrey wanted me to be the perfect wife, quiet when he wanted silence, glamorous when he wanted me on his arm, and accommodating when he demanded it. I loved him deeply, but there were days when I felt I had given up my entire identity just to keep him happy. That was the most disgusting truth of all, that I let myself disappear for the sake of preserving the illusion of a happy marriage. Yet despite these painful admissions, Bacall never denied that she cared for Bogart and that their relationship had moments of passion and love. I don't want people to think there was nothing good between us. There were times when he was tender, times when he made me laugh, times when I truly believed in the magic of our love. But people must understand, love and marriage are not the same thing. You can love someone deeply and still feel suffocated or mistreated in the marriage. That was the reality of Bogey and me. What made her words resonate so deeply was the raw honesty. Bacall's reputation in Hollywood had always been that of a strong, independent woman, and by opening up about the darker side of her marriage, she revealed the price she had paid for that famous romance. She acknowledged that the public would likely always cling to the idealized version of her and Bogart as one of the great love stories of Hollywood, but she wanted her truth recorded for history. I owe it to myself to say what it really was. Not the glossy picture painted by the magazines, but the truth of a young woman who often cried herself to sleep next to a man the world thought was perfect. In her later years, Bacall seemed to reflect with both bitterness and acceptance. She had lived through an extraordinary chapter in Hollywood history, but she refused to let nostalgia rewrite the truth. Humphrey Bogart was a great actor, but a flawed man. Our marriage was a mixture of love, pain, and disillusionment. The disgusting truth is that behind the glamour it was often hard, ugly, and heartbreaking. That is what people should know. By speaking so openly, Bacall shattered the myth of the perfect Hollywood marriage. Instead of a romantic fantasy, she painted a portrait of two people struggling with power, addiction, control, and heartbreak. In doing so, she left behind a far more human and relatable legacy, one where even icons like Lauren Bacall could admit that love was not always enough to conquer the demons within a marriage. On August 12, 2014, the world lost one of the last surviving icons of Hollywood's golden age when Lauren Bacall passed away. She died after suffering a massive stroke inside her longtime residence at the Dakota, the legendary Upper West Side apartment building in Manhattan that has been home to numerous celebrities, artists, and cultural figures over the decades. The Dakota itself is an architectural landmark, instantly recognizable to many for its Gothic-style facade overlooking Central Park, and it has long been associated with an aura of exclusivity and mystery. For Bacall, the Dakota was not merely an address, but a sanctuary where she had spent many of her later years, surrounded by memories of her long, storied career and the family she loved so dearly. When the stroke occurred, emergency medical services rushed her to New York Presbyterian Hospital, one of the city's most renowned medical centers, but despite their best efforts, she could not be revived. The hospital formally confirmed her death, and news outlets around the globe quickly broadcast the sad announcement that Lauren Bacall, one of the most distinctive voices and faces ever to grace the silver screen, was gone at the age of 89. Following her passing, Bacall was laid to rest on the opposite side of the country, at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California. This cemetery is well known as the final resting place of countless film stars, entertainers, and cultural icons, making it a fitting location for Bacall, who had herself become a permanent part of Hollywood history. To be interred there placed her among the likes of Humphrey Bogart, her first husband and one of the greatest actors of all time, as well as many of her peers from the era when motion pictures were first establishing themselves as America's favorite form of entertainment. Her interment at Forest Lawn symbolized both a homecoming to the heart of the movie industry and a permanent place in its legacy, ensuring that admirers could visit and pay tribute to her enduring influence.